to the latest edition of the Talkie Taka podcast. This today is a group therapy session. We've got two United fans and one Chelsea fan. We're sitting here without any drink in our hand, just trying to drown our sorrows. We're recording this after the exit of Manchester United from Europe, and Chelsea were never in it. So now we're on shared common ground. We can let our tears roll and drown ourselves in our common sorrows. To do that, I have Ashwin and RK with me. Hey guys, how are you? RK, you still in red?
Always in red, whatever happens.
Spoken like a true fan. What's your talkie point?
My talking point is, I think, the most traumatic 5 to 10 minutes, of my recent past. Even considering United's form, that's, I guess, I don't really remember the exact minutes anymore, but probably comes between the 65th and 75th minutes, where United are in the game, trying to score an equalizer, but no, not getting close, and suddenly. Bournemouth always threatening on the counter. The third goal goes in off a corner, and suddenly it's 3-0. Bournemouth almost deserved, I guess, to score 4-0 as well, but they were denied by a handball. It was like I was pretty numb by then, so I don't remember if it's an offside or a handball that prevented that from going in or prevented that from being counted. I would rank that as one of the most traumatic I have felt as a United fan, along with the the Brentford loss, the second one of Ten Hag. So there are a few that come to mind. It took a fair bit of time on that Saturday night for me to get over that game. So that's my talking point.
Yeah, and I think the second goal came like 2 minutes after Ab on the group said that the United equalizer is coming in the 75th minute or so, and by the time it reached 75, it was 3-0. Ashwin, you have anything United related, or are you just ignoring them for the time being?
And like my blood runs red and white. I could say if I can never ignore United. But what RK mentioned made me think of this meme that is doing the rounds. Just basically, this image of Homer Simpson and Bart Simpson, and Bart Simpson is like, "This is the worst day of my life." That is United Bonner, and then and then Homer Simpson goes like, "This is the worst day of your life so far." So yesterday we went out of the Champions League as well. So that was another bad day, bad evening for United. But yeah, my for me, I'm gonna go with something positive, Swag. So from the La Liga, 2 points clear of Real Madrid. I think it's a bit refreshing to not see the, either of Barcelona or Real Madrid at the top of the league. So it's good. It's good to see like some other team, at the summit. And I think Girona really dominated Barcelona as well in that game. So it was good.
Yeah, and I think if you take out the big three, if you may call them so, for Spain, the last manager to win the La Liga, who was not from the big three, was Benitez with Valencia. So you have to go that far back. I mean, I don't think Girona will continue this till the end of the season, but yeah, as you said, refreshing nonetheless. My talkie point is something closer to home. Chelsea obviously is not giving me anything to shout about, but it was nice to see Raul Jimenez score a few goals again. I mean, ever since he had that knock with David Luiz, he turned into a pale shadow of himself. He was out for so long, and even when he came back, he was very ineffectual. So it's good to see someone restore himself to an extent. I just hope he continues, otherwise Fulham fans are going to come for me. Um,
You jinxed
right.
it.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Which is
right,
I'm like,
right.
we'll come to FPL. Don't worry. We've got enough to talk about there as well. Like, it's everywhere. Anyway, coming to Man United. So we were having a lot of discussion on the group yesterday night after the game. Honestly, I think probably you guys were hoping for Europa, and the second spot seemed a bit out of reach. But yeah, 4 points out of 6 games in the league as well. Bournemouth, RK, you mentioned that apparently some players not on board with Ten Hag. Things not going as per plan, as is Ashwin's AirPod. So RK. why don't you kick us off? Uh, what's going wrong and how can this be fixed tomorrow?
I don't think there is any, quick fix. This Champions League group has, like I was talking of nightmares and horrors, and the Bournemouth day being the, one of the worst days I have experienced as a fan. But the whole Champions League group campaign in itself has been, it's been a kind of a horror show, one after the other. I remember Ole's last season, which was also a similar group stage, very very chaotic. You could sense, that there is no structure, no order. But thanks to Ronaldo's goals, I think we got through that group at least. This time we were not even in a position to be able to get through the group or anywhere close to that for that matter. One game after the other, we squandering winning, be it squandering winning positions or conceding cheap goals or lacking control. I think anything that a bad team or a good, a team wanting to be a good team should not demonstrate was demonstrated by United across the, you know all the six group games. So in summary, that was, you know a summary of everything that was wrong with United. uh, I was talking to you guys about how I think Ten Hag hasn't really lost the dressing room yet. For me, it's still, it's more than losing the dressing room. It's about, the ineffectual structure that is there in our playing tactics, mainly in how our midfield presses after they lose the ball. We are very weak on transitions. The second thing is how deep our backline is, which basically creates a lot of space in midfield in behind the, eights who are very high. So that's the second problem. The third problem is that the fullbacks don't really press high. So while the forward four or five players press very high, and if Rashford and Martial are not there, they're pretty aggressive as well. But once you escape that press, because the fullbacks don't press high, so there is a lot of, space for the wingers. There's a lot of space out wide, and we have already talked about the space in the center of the pitch. I think these are the, issues. Like United kind of play like two different teams. One team is up the pitch, one team is at the back, and that makes it really easy for the opposition to, get counters, try and control the game, control the ball as well sometimes. And if you look at, and this balance is what we have been struggling to, get right all season. There have been games where we have pressed very well, we have created chances on the ball, but we have been leaky uh, as leaky as it can get. And you have matches like yesterday where we were pretty compact, pretty tight, pretty intense, but then once we got the ball, because we weren't committing as many people forward, afraid of the Bayern, counters. We weren't able to, commit enough people forward to, create chances. Our XG yesterday was 0.27 XG for. So, we don't seem to be able to find the balance in every game, and that's what I was talking to you guys about yesterday. That I think this has happened in so many games that the squad has now lost confidence in what is the right way to play, lost confidence in, and lost belief in, what is the right way to play, what is the right way to get results, which is what was, I think, visible yesterday. Once Bayern went up, or once they realized probably that even Copenhagen is in the lead, they just lost any kind of belief, morale. Yeah, things are looking bad, but I think I'm just repeating myself. I just hope that Ten Hag is not sacked as of now. I don't think he will be. The club is not in a position to kind of sack a manager. So let's hope that he can still turn it around. I see enough signs, but it's looking very bleak right now as well.
Ashwin, what are the mitigating circumstances to this? I mean, we've talked often off air about the defense and the lack of people present who would ideally be in the first 11 around the midfield as well. What basically could you offer as a justification for that?
But I don't know if there are enough mitigating factors, right? Because it's like, how many games have we played now? Some 24, 25 games. We have lost as many games as we have won. Like, we lost 12 games the whole of last season. We have already lost 12 games, and it's not even Christmas yet. Right? So
One
it's
just because you are on that, Ashwin, one interesting thing I read about was there's only three teams in Europe, across the top five leagues, who have lost more games than United. One of those names really surprised me. So Almeria,
Almeria.
Burnley and Union Berlin. I didn't know that Berlin is doing that badly.
Yeah,
Oh,
Union is doing well,
Berlin
and
is. Wow.
I mean, let's not even go there. But anyway, coming back to your question, sir, right? Like, there seems to be a genuine confusion between the players and the coaching staff. Let me put it that way, right? Ten Hag obviously wanted to make us the best team that can play transitionary football, or the best team in transition football, right? And something that Klopp has done really well in a lot of games with Liverpool. He wanted to do that. We did not start off really well. We got those injuries to Martinez, Casemiro, Ericsson, you name who, right? And obviously Hoyland, his major signing, the one who was supposed to change things for him, also came in with a back injury. So he has not had the best of the starts. The takeover talks have been going on for the best part of 1 year. That hasn't helped us well. There hasn't been any structure in the club. Now, these are obviously, you can, as a rival fan, you can say that these are all excuses that Ten Hag can use, but these are not ideal circumstances for any manager to manage, whether that's Ten Hag or fucking Pep Guardiola. Like, it doesn't matter. You put a Pep Guardiola, you put Jurgen Klopp, you put fucking Johan Cruyff at Man United, and I can assure you this will happen. Having said that, Ten Hag also has to shoulder in some of the blame. We are relying on a player who was supposed to be sold in McTominay to get the goals for us. He leaves a big void in the midfield for the likes of Amrabat, Casemiro earlier to fill. RK mentioned it, I think, in one of our group chats as well. You put in Kante in that team, and he won't be able to cover the gap that is left behind by McTominay just bombing forward. So something has to change. Like either the shape, either the system, either the players coming back who can do the job that Ten Hag is asking them to do. Something has to change. It doesn't look that in the short term to medium term that will change at all.
Ashwin, you also, people talk a lot about number eights and how, we have two high number eights and how that affects us. But I would attribute that as well, to the manager, because you look at City, they have always played two high eights, right? I mean, Pep was the guy who brought in this concept of, two tens, in a three-man midfield when he did it with Silva and De Bruyne, and all of us, or most of us, at least I was wondering how that's going to work. This season, they have, McAllister and the other signing, I don't know why I'm suddenly forgetting his name, the Hungarian, but
Sabasly.
yeah, Soboslai. They are also pretty attacking players on their day. Or if you bring in the other players also who play for them in midfield, it's a proper 4-3-3 with two high eights, right? Again, it's up to the manager to bring in a system where the counter press, the compactness is very high. It just because you are playing two high eights doesn't mean that you naturally have space behind them. So definitely Ten Hag is at fault, but Swag, you were asking about mitigating factors for Ten Hag. I think one big issue is that partly referenced by Ashwin is that he's not been able to get rid of the players that he wanted to get rid of, and probably replace them with the players that he wanted or the players that fit his profile. I won't say wanted because then we go to all the Dutch affiliations and stuff like that. So but getting players in with the right profile. So however well Maguire and McTominay are playing, they are not the right profile of player for Ten Hag. Ideally, he would have wanted to sell them and get replacements. Uh, so that's there, and then you have people parasites like Sancho, Rashford, Martial, who just are not interested in playing his style, or let alone playing his style. They're not even interested to work hard. So obviously you have this kind of deadwood who are still there even after all the massive spending that we have done. And when you talk of the Glazers, we are constrained by FFP right now, and it's not necessarily because we have spent a lot in the past, which is true, but it's because of the depth that we have that we is basically holding us back in terms of FFP. So, and probably when I was reading some excerpts of the Ten Hag interview that he gave to Andy Mitten, a few days back, and he was referring to so Mitten asked him about this Dutch connection. So and about signing Mason Mount. So he was so Ten Hag's reply was that Mason Mount wasn't signed because he was a Dutch. He had played in the Eredivisie in one season, but he was signed because he was one of the best 24-year-olds in the league whose contract was running out. So that phrase stuck with me a lot. So it's not probably that Mount was his number one signing preference, but it was probably the cheapest signing that he would have got in that particular profile, right? So when you talk of Glazers or you talk of people's attitudes, I think he stuck with those as well.
Just on the Mount point, this is something that really annoys me, right? Like, and don't even go go there. Uh, Shamelessly smile. Uh, he doesn't use Mount enough. Like, I know he's been like Mount has been injured quite a bit, but like I don't think he's used Mount to the extent that he would have wanted to use him. Firstly, I, for one, don't believe that he should be playing as an eight. I still feel that his best position is on the right. And yesterday, seeing Anthony and doing fucking step overs that led to nowhere, I was thinking that we should have had we could have had such a good right wing with the likes of Sancho, with the likes of Mount, and then we have shit like Anthony playing there. I really feel that he should have tested Mount out on the right. When we knew that Greenwood would not be available, Sancho would not be available, Anthony is a dickhead. So, I don't know why he's not using him enough.
Yeah, and you talk of people not being used properly. One thing that confounds me is Rafael Varane. He's not played a lot of games because he wants a passer from the back. And yesterday, someone asked Ten Hag, "Why did you play Varane on the left?" And he was like, "Because we need more defending."
Well,
Okay,
well,
this
well, to
is
be
exactly what you were saying. I mean, there are some things that are more important than just being able to pass a ball. You need to be able to have people who can press high, who can put pressure, and increase your or bring your line higher. When you play Maguire and Lindelof together, you are not doing anything to bring your line higher, make it more compact. At least yesterday,
100%.
considered that many chances. So Varane is needed in this team.
A
And I think
defender's job
I
is to defend, right? To start with. And a goalkeeper's job is to fucking save. And
keep
you know, and on both in both instances, we have the likes of Lindelof, who is error prone and he is keeping and Johnny Evans, who is like 70 years old and still playing, and he's keeping the likes of Varane. It's so funny to see Varane being the fifth or the sixth choice centre back. And talking about people who should be playing in their position and should be doing what they, you know, what they should be doing. Onana, he cannot keep. I understand he's probably really good at passing the ball to the to the channels and like whatever Ten Hag wants to do and play Ten Hag ball, but he has butterfingers, right? So I mean, what 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 are these guys doing? Like I don't understand. Like let's start with the basics first, and then you can do all your fancy stuff.
think Onana's obviously he's not worked out yet. We'll see in the future. I don't think it's going to be one season option for him. You'll definitely give him at least one more season to see how he's doing. He doesn't seem like a Kepa to me, where from the first season it was like इससे नहीं हो पाएगा. So we'll see what happens with Onana. But in terms of the
Agree,
defense,
agree.
you mentioned Varane. It's not just the defensive aspect of it; it's also the leadership. The leadership that
Yeah.
Varane brings to that in a defensive line, which is constantly chopping and changing because of injury or something. You would rather have him than Evans. No disrespect meant to him. And
Who is going to be the captain in the Liverpool game? May I ask? There are no leaders in the team, right? Like he gave the captaincy armband to Bruno,
hmm,
who's missing in the next game,
hmm.
right? Would he go back to Maguire? Oh, by the way, Maguire is
Maguire
also injured.
was
Is
yeah,
also
Maguire is
injured
off.
now.
Yeah.
Who are the leaders in the team? Like I don't understand. I really don't
I
understand what's
mean,
happening.
if you were to ask anyone an year ago this question, they would probably have said Rashford, the way he was going last season.
But
But that's
to
obviously
be
not going to
fair,
happen
you
this
have
time
people
around.
like Licha and Casemiro who were actually in leadership roles last season. They are
Hmm.
completely missing. This time, of course, Casemiro has been in bad form as well. Varane has been missing mostly because of injury and also because he has been dropped. Otherwise, he was also one of the guys who might have filled in as a captain. Probably now ironically, it's going to be McTominay who's going to probably, lead the line,
I
captain in the next
I
game.
I would have said Shaw, but then I remember that he also went off injured. So yeah, so we'll come back to United a bit more in our preview section. Uh, but talking about another team, and you hinted at Liverpool with all their midfielders and all of them bombing forward and everything's working out fine. Radhaji was obviously supposed to be here today, but he's unwell, so we'll hear from him soon. But what are your thoughts on these guys? They also live dangerously. It's not as if it's been smooth sailing for them. Against Fulham, it wasn't fine initially, or even till late. Against Palace, it wasn't fine, and it was only the red card that helped them turn it around. But they're living dangerously, but they're at the top of the table, and they seem to be gelling together decently well, considering their midfield is completely all new.
It's a sign of resilience, right? We spoke about Arsenal last season. We keep talking about City and what they do, and Liverpool are no different. I mean, Klopp is, I mean, has come up with his own version of Fergie time, I would say. Like so many late goals that they have scored, so many times that they've gone 1-0 behind and then they come back and they win 2-1 or like whatnot. The Fulham game obviously was a bit of an uh, outlier in the sense that Fulham have also been playing well. They have been scoring loads of goals. So let's not discount the fact that it was Fulham and it was because Liverpool were bad. The games where Liverpool were actually bad or worse than the Fulham game was probably Sheffield United, against Sheffield United and against Crystal Palace. But they still found a way to get those goals, and that is what matters at the end of the day. They have Darwin Núñez, who has been missing so many chances, so they could have probably scored even more goals. And then we would have probably not been talking about all these things. But the likes of Salah, the likes of Luis Diaz, Shabbos like coming up with the goods. Like they have those players, they have those leaders that we were talking about earlier, who can smell goals, if I can put it that way. So that's certainly something that's working for them. And I mean, they would be like smacking their lips at the prospect of facing a United side so bad with 13 injuries to deal with themselves. So yeah, it's not looking good for United, but yeah, certainly for Liverpool, they certainly deserve to be at the top of the table.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a few years since, or couple of years for that matter, since Liverpool were back in this kind of conversation. So they will also be, I think, pretty hungry after the way that they performed last season, not being able to finish in the Champions League. Uh, to be back in this kind of conversation, which they are more used to, I think that's the benefit of having a manager who's been around Swag for a long time. You were mentioning about having a new midfield and still gelling. I think they have enough, very stable people around that midfield in terms of playing stuff. Like, you bring in Trent Alexander-Arnold, or you consider Van Dijk. You consider Robertson, etc., right? Allison. So there are people who form a very stable base. While we can argue that they have also not have the best injury record in the centre back situation, that has been a fair bit of flux for them. But when the playing style is so well established, it becomes a bit more seamless for new people to come in and get used to that pattern. Uh, so I think, and they they seem to have a good mix going on in that midfield. We talked the entire summer about probably the number 6 position is something that will get exposed for them. Losing out big signings to Chelsea of all clubs. So but that hasn't seemed to have affected Liverpool at all. I mean, after all that big spending and getting all the big names, it's Chelsea who are you know who have been at the bottom of the pile, so to say. So, I mean, Liverpool have adjusted very well. They have kind of fitted McAllister into that number 6 role wherever possible. They bring in Endo, whenever they feel that the opposition will be conducive for that. Uh, and they have signed Gravenberch, who's been also pretty. He's had a really good start. So Soboslai has obviously been, I think, the standout performer in that midfield for them. So all of them kind of gelling together. Trent Alexander-Arnold, obviously the experiment that worked for him at the end of last season, that's kind of continued to some extent this season as well. and we have seen how he has intervened at the top end of the pitch when they have been struggling. So I mean, like they wouldn't probably have got that point against Man City if not for him. So they always seem to know at this moment. I think since the Luton Town away draw, they haven't really hit their stride properly. But when you always see their attack stats, it's always been pretty good. So it's not that they are, it's been a dysfunctional team who are somehow getting results. I think there is enough about Liverpool for them to be optimistic about. And once they enter this kind of momentum, you always you always feel that they will become more solid than this. So I think Liverpool are going to be in the title contention this season for sure.
I think they're gonna win it. I really feel that they're gonna win it.
Possible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, with how City are placed at the moment, and with Arsenal, well, Arsenal are there as well. So I'm not discounting them, but I think Liverpool have enough. They have the experience to go pound for pound with City as well. So I think they're going to win it. But just one point on Trent, and I think RK alluded to it as well. Let's not think of Trent as a right back anymore. Like, he has been pushed into the midfield and has been doing an absolute fabulous job there. Um, you know, Attack was always the best form of defense, if that's the right way of putting it, for him. I think necessity is definitely the mother of invention, right? And then, that's what Klopp did with him. Like, he has been playing so well there. It's probably the right time for Liverpool to start looking at right back options, because I wouldn't be putting him down there. And I'm again, I know we are going to discuss Liverpool versus United later, but I'm so worried about Trent, just exploiting that gap in the midfield that we are definitely going to leave behind. He smells danger. He is so, like, he looks for those opportunities. And if you remember the goal against City as well, it came out of nowhere. Everyone was tracking, the front three and maybe even, McAllister and the likes, but he came out of nowhere and got that wonder strike in, and he got the goal as well. So I think definitely kudos to how Trent has been playing there.
Yeah, and this is what Rataji had to say about Liverpool.
What's up, lads? I'm sorry I couldn't make it for the episode. With a little, got a bout of illness that kept me out this week. But what a great week. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, if you had asked any of us at the start of the season, hey, after 16 game weeks or 15 game weeks, whatever it's been, you'd be top of the table with scoring 90th minute winners in games like that. Arsenal and Man City falling short in their games. Just looking at the position in the table and the points we have and the people around us, I think every single Liverpool fan would have bitten your hand off. That's the overarching feeling that I have as a Liverpool fan right now. Just an amazing season we're having. We did not at any stretch imagine that we would be challengers when the whole Caicedo incident happened. Got rid of Fabinho, Henderson lost them to uh, the Saudi league. Feeling a little that our squad was a little short. We didn't have the centre back that we needed as well, and now Matip finally got injured and showed that perhaps that was a critical signing we should have made. So there was a lot of pessimism, but from there to here, wow, I mean, can't really complain. An amazing place to be. The character in the team is really reminiscent of some of the games, some of the seasons we've had in 19, 20, 21 with just not taking defeat no matter what, just clawing ourselves back into games, starting with that Newcastle game where Darwin Núñez came on and we won with 10 men away at Newcastle, played amazingly with 9 men at Spurs and somehow held on, and then very unlucky for so many reasons in that game. But the character has been in display all through this season. I think that part of our play is reminiscent of a Champions team, and I'm like so encouraged and so happy about that. But now a little bit of a reality check as well. You don't get to score so many late winners unless you're in that situation very often. And we leveled this criticism on Arsenal last season as well, that they're scoring a lot of winners late and stuff like that, but they shouldn't be in those positions. So I think that's the real takeaway for me, is that we are not a championship team yet. I don't think we're as good as Arsenal, and trust me, I'm shocked and surprised to see where Man City are this season. But I don't think we're as balanced as Arsenal are. I don't think we have that much uh, the clinical nature of keeping a clean sheet and keeping teams out. I don't think we have that, which is why I think that we will eventually fall short of winning the title. But who cares, man? I mean, from given where we started, brand new midfield pretty much. It's an amazing achievement for the team to be punching in this area right now. So nobody can take that away from me. I'm definitely optimistic, feeling positive about the season. And who knows, man? Just stay in there for a while. I know Mo Salah will go to the AFCON soon, and that'll be a blow. But stay in there, stay in and around these guys, and you never know. Maybe we can just give it a shot. But great week, great season, bunch of other great games as well. Villa, man, what a team, what a performance. So yeah, here's hoping more things go our way and the Reds keep marching on. Sorry I couldn't be there again, but I'm sure you guys did a killer episode. I'll see you guys next week.
So, moving forward, Ashwin, is it time for you to gloat with our FPL tips? You've rushed up to third in the league table overall. Now you can say you're actually in a place which counts, which matters. Your position is pretty high up. What are your tips?
Well, I would firstly, uh, put in a disclaimer that I was a bit lucky that Haaland did not start or was on the bench because I had captained Haaland in the previous game against Luton, and I had Salah as my vice captain, so I got the Salah points. But yeah, in terms of tips, I think all the FPL managers would be looking at just replacing Haaland for this particular week. I think City have a blank game week next week as well. So it's about replacing Haaland, and if you don't have Watkins, maybe try looking at Watkins. Gabriel Jesus might be a good shout. I mean, we are only looking at temporary replacements at this point, just to cover Haaland for those 2 weeks.
How
Um,
far down will his price go if there is a massive sell on him?
I don't think many people would sell him because a lot of people would be. It'll be really difficult for them to get back Haaland as well. But Haaland is 14 million, so you can get any striker that you want with that amount of money. I think in terms of captaincy, though, Son is a good one. He had a absolutely fabulous week last week, and he has some good fixtures as well. Chelsea have some good fixtures, but I'm not really sure who to go as far as Chelsea is concerned. Swag, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there anyone I should be looking at?
The
Um,
the opposition.
Maybe Cole Palmer, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, probably Cole is a decent bet, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've basically been struggling with keeping Haaland as captain and suffering through the games because nothing's been happening. It's been, I think, 3 or 4 weeks that I've been suffering because of that in fantasy and as well as draft. Because in draft, you can't let go of your key assets, obviously, you can't buy them back. And I think that if Sanchez was 100%, you could potentially look at him from a Chelsea perspective for the next 3 4 games because it's relatively lesser
Yeah.
opposition, but you never know with Chelsea these days. So probably
I
worthwhile.
actually I actually sold Sanchez for in the draft team. I sold Sanchez for Dubravka.
Mm.
Um,
And he's injured now. Karius is potentially coming in.
or De Gea, you never know.
Yes, it would be interesting if David De Gea was playing for Newcastle against Manchester United in the reverse fixture. It would be really interesting. But yeah, I think we've mentioned them enough times. Let's talk about the dumpster fire that is Chelsea. As a Chelsea fan, I think I've reached that stage of apathy where I'm like, जो करना है, this is a dead season already. Like you were saying, it's been 12 losses. It's not even Christmas. It's a dead season already for Chelsea, and it's not even Christmas. I mean, there doesn't seem to be anything working. And honestly, you can. I asked you guys about mitigating factors. I could list a few myself in terms of the injuries and things like that. But my concern, and feel free to weigh in here, because is that there doesn't seem to be okay. XG terms we've done well. probably won like most of our games. The finishing is so atrocious. The finishing is so atrocious that it's almost as if Pogba's brother put a hex on a different ground rather than Old Trafford. And Kunku is supposed to be back, and even the Chelsea hierarchy know this so much is because they're posting his photos every day on social media to quell a fan uprising. He's coming, wait. As if he will come in, and the expectation is that every game he's going to be scoring a hat trick. The guy who's been off injured for almost 6 months now, he should come in and every game he'll take the ball, 3 goals, chalo, let's go. Apart from that, there's no structure in the defensive lineup. Reese is injured again. For his sake, I hope he takes the time to just get his surgery done. There's no point in coming back in March as is being touted. There's not going to be anything left. There's no continental competition to look forward to. He can take the time if he wants to save his career. And I don't mean this as a Chelsea fan, I just mean this as someone who likes to watch football. If he wants to keep his career, he should focus on getting himself back to 100% and try and fix what's going wrong time and time again. It might not be at Chelsea, it might be somewhere else, but get yourself fixed up. Gusto is injured as well, so I don't know. Maybe Caicedo is going to play at right back, which is silly. And apparently, Dizazi is one of the people we will be looking to sell in January or in the summer when he just joined in this summer. So yeah, dumpster fire all the way around, and not a hope in sight. We do have a few nicer games coming up in terms of games that can potentially give us an uplift. But yeah, everything's in the air.
I think it's a weird one with Chelsea, right? Like they seem to be the kind of uh, David beats Goliath kind of a team wherein they get those results against City, beat Spurs, although it feels weird to call Spurs Goliath. They got the result against Liverpool as well. And I think apart from Newcastle, they have pretty much got some form of result against every big team. Of course, I'm not including United here because United have been so poor. But but yeah, it's just weird. And then they go and lose to the likes of Everton, and then was it Forest that they got a draw against or something of
We
that
lost to
sort?
Forest. We
We
lost to
lost to
Forest.
Forest, right? So it's just weird.
Brentford.
Brentford 2-0. Just
So
looking at the
we
But
we
results.
we
it's
we're having a
it's kind of
sorry.
reached a place, Ashwin, where they have lost that as well. Right till the United game, you could say that they are getting themselves up for the bigger bigger occasions, but now they are losing to the smaller teams as well. I think like if you look at the
Like
fixtures,
United.
they lost to Everton now. Before United, who was it? Was it Brentford or someone? Uh, I
They
Brentford
won.
was some games ago.
They won
Newcastle.
against Brighton. They lost to Newcastle 4-1.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
that's the
they
thing.
lost badly
One,
to Newcastle, and that's where the wheels probably came off in terms of even I was expecting them to perform better against Newcastle. For me, like the main thing, when Chelsea started the season, at least the first 10-12 games, they were looking pretty good in terms of their pressing shape, and we have already talked about the XG creation, and they can't score. But even their overall structure was looking pretty promising, to be honest, in the first couple of months. But last couple of months, it's been, I think Chelsea have been one of the easiest teams, I would say, to play through. So I don't know, in terms of the training, the structure, what's really going wrong there. There seems to be too much space between the lines. People are not pressing properly. There doesn't seem to be a proper shape, pressing structure, defensive line. You talk of any of the things that you associate. I haven't observed the set piece defending that closely, but I think if I remember back to the Newcastle game, that's also not something that has gone well. So there have been so many. They were so vulnerable in the at the Old Trafford game to crosses coming in, or set pieces which were not corners, etc. So I think they have been very very vulnerable from all types of attacks. That's I think the main concern that Pochettino should have, or any manager should have for that matter. If you have a playing style that is not getting reflected on the field, in terms of Pochettino being a manager who prefers a high press, he prefers to have a really compact, structure. his previous Tottenham teams were not. I don't remember them as being vulnerable to set piece defending, etc. So I mean, I think that's the main concern for me. From I would be okay if you are generating XG but not able to score. Those kind of issues can be resolved with it indicates maybe more of a personal problem, but being so leaky, considering so many chances, the same for United as well, that reflects on what's going on behind the scenes and the coaching. Of course, I am a strong advocate of Pochettino getting more time, because it's basically it's similar to United, right? He's come into a fucking whirlpool where you don't really know what to do. You have a completely new playing squad. Again, we talked about Klopp and Pep in the United environment. I'm sure you put them in this environment with so much uncertainty behind the scenes, so much wild splurging, so many new players coming in. It's not just from a playing style or like tactical perspective. It's from a man management perspective. Having everyone who's new also, it must be a very difficult scenario to manage. Having players who you don't want to be part of the squad, who you're still looking to phase out. So I mean, a lot of the problems, I think United, in terms of these kind of issues, I think United and Chelsea have started to increasingly share at the moment.
Yeah, and I think talking about tactics, low blocks is something we are struggling against massively. Any team which has a low block, you're like, we can't penetrate this. It's only, as you said, the high flyers is because those teams play on the front foot and they're trying to score themselves, and that is when we are able to fight back. Cole Palmer has probably been one of the few highlights of the season so far. Interestingly, Chelsea fan account shared that he has more goals for Chelsea from open play as compared to Mason Mount. So
Ever.
ever.
Yeah, okay.
So
So proper con job you guys did on us.
yeah, we said leke jao. And anyway, so moving on from Chelsea to some teams that are actually doing well. Villa, the surprise package of the season, up to third now, beaten Arsenal and Man City in successive game weeks. You can have as many new players as well. You can, but if you manage well, you can probably take care of them. And Villa seem to be doing a stellar job. Long may it continue. But Villa, Arsenal, City. I mean, right now it looks like these three teams are the ones challenging Liverpool for the top spot. But I honestly still feel probably like I did when Leicester was doing their thing that Villa will drop off at some point because the big game experience of players from City, etc., might come in handy later on. Maybe KDB comes back, Haaland is rejuvenated or something like that, and City go on those crazy runs where they win 20, 30 games in a row, and suddenly you find that they've won the league by 10 points. But it's still nice to see a new name in there doing well and deservedly so. What are your thoughts on Arsenal? They are there and thereabouts. They don't seem to be going away. Uh, this time around, they have already played Man City once, unlike last season when they had to play them twice immediately, and they still have a lead over them. How do you think this is going to pan out?
Yeah, I thought Arsenal, in terms of control, in terms of territory, they came back into the game after conceding that goal very well. In fact, in terms of position, in terms of dominating the high line, in terms of winning the ball high up the pitch, lot of things, Arsenal dominated Villa. I'll come to Villa in a bit, but I think the problem that Arsenal are facing right now, which has been indicated in the other games where they have won, pretty late on, where they have won 1-0, is probably chance creation. You see some games where the opposition tries to probably play a bit more adventurously against them, and they do well, like they did against I think it was Lens in the Champions League, where they won 6-0. But in a lot of games surrounding that, they have really struggled to create good chances, struggled to score a lot of goals, and that's what I think happened against Villa as well. Even though they dominated the game to a large extent, of course, there is a lot of contribution of Villa being extremely good defensively as well. But uh, like the problem for Arsenal in that game was that they couldn't really create enough. Like probably they created enough to draw the game, but uh, Arsenal didn't create enough to win the game. And That is something, when you compare them to Liverpool, who also have been struggling to get the wins. But Liverpool have been creating good chances and not really, and Liverpool are not really very high on the XG against as well. So there is, Liverpool are much more, I think, positive in terms of the, the like net differential than Arsenal are. So Arsenal need to improve the level in possession. We know that they have not been as fluid, anywhere close to as fluid as they were last season. We have talked about it previously on the spot, that is probably because Arteta wants to be a bit more physical, tighten up the off the ball issues that he had at the end of last season, make them less unpredictable against the ball. But I think he's compromised a bit on the ball. They need to again get that balance in terms of, being very fluid, being able to create chances, being able to score goals if they want to, continue being. I think they will be in the title race for a long time, but if they want to win the title, they need to start, creating more chances, scoring more goals.
Yeah, just to add to that, I think there has been a few players where we have seen a drop off in form as well. So Martinelli, for example, is one of those. Um, I, 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 I'm not saying that he's turned a corner or any of that sort, but I think he definitely could do with a few more assists and goals, because that is what gets him charged up really. I think Arsenal are definitely doing what they are sent out to do. They are getting the results. I think against Villa they were slightly unlucky as well, because I personally feel that the Howard's goal should have stood. I think I don't know what else he could have done to take his hand away from that ball. Like, you have the same rule for defenders as well, right? Like, if the ball hits the hand accidentally, it's not like we are giving away penalties or something of that sort. So I think they could have gotten that draw, they could have gotten that point, and then we would have probably had a different discussion as far as that game is concerned. Um, Arsenal are definitely there. I think they, like Liverpool, also have that resilience. The game against Luton, where they came from behind multiple times and they won it 4-3 eventually, I think is testimony to that. I've seen Arsenal teams like crumple, when they've gone behind. So yeah, they definitely have that inner strength to come back. I think Rice is one of those players that has brought in that metal as well. Um, so yeah, I think Arsenal will definitely be challenging for the title. We can't write them off at all at this stage. I think they'll go much further than they did last year, which is saying something, because they were in the title race until like the last 3 or 4 games. Um, but yeah, we Arteta would definitely need the likes of Martinelli and others to step up. If he wants to really obliterate, the likes of Liverpool and others.
Yeah, yeah. I think Martinelli, I agree with you. That's Arun was also talking about his poor output this season. It's not that he's been looking out of form, but that tally of goals and assists, probably 2 goals and I don't know, a couple of assists or maybe a few more. That doesn't really bode well for someone who's, kind of leading the line on the left side. It's not been a great sign. Even Saka has had a few off games, although his stats are pretty good. He's not, delivered the output. Odegaard has missed a few games. Jesus has missed a few games. So it's very important that they begin to strike a rhythm. But I think we should talk about Villa here. I mean, I was so impressed with, okay, they couldn't control the game as well as they would have liked typically, but I have always seen this in Emery's teams. The moment they go 1-0 up, and I remember it, of course, from the Europa League final, but also other, so many other games that I have watched Emery, not just with United, but once his teams go 1-0 up, and even against proactive teams who want to take the attack to him, he's extremely comfortable dealing with that situation. I have not seen a manager who's that comfortable, defending the lead. Now, these are all basically, what I've seen, but probably the stats show differently. That I really need to check the stats how good they are defending leads. But Emery always seems like he knows his organization inside out. He gets his team so well drilled, so organized. I think Villa was so hard to break down. They were, marking, like they have this 4 people in midfield, which is very tough to get through at the best of times, right? And the intensity that Villa have, Arsenal. Uh, I don't remember many Arsenal passes which where they got a free pass. Every pass that Arsenal made, there was a Villa player who was really kind of hounding the player, right? So really, really good defensive job from Villa. And Swag, you were talking about the players that they have signed, but I guess that helps when you have a good sporting department as well. When you sign the right players, who are a right fit for the manager, I think it helps them to gel that much more seamlessly. One of the players, for example, Port Torres, where some of the balls raking, long balls that he was giving to the other wing was magnificent to watch. Leon Bailey has been. I'm not sure if he slightly predates Emery or was he an Emery signing, but
I think he was Gerrard signing.
yeah, I think he came in just before that. But the way that he's got that team to gel has been outstanding.
Yeah, I think as neutrals, we'd probably hope for Villa's run to go on a little longer, but we'll see. On that note, Ashwin's been hinting at this the entire episode. Let's talk about the games to come. Liverpool versus Manchester United. Who are you playing? Who are your 11 players that you're going to put out on the pitch, particularly in the defense?
You know, the first thing that I would do is put a double pivot there. I know I was the one in this pod who was talking about, you don't necessarily need to be uh, leaking, like, I don't know, I don't want to put any metaphors because too many are coming to mind, but you don't necessarily become a bad defending team just by playing two higher rates up the pitch. But given that we are not able to get it right, I badly, and given that Bruno is suspended, I think that gives us an opportunity to play Kobe Mainu and Amrabat together. Definitely they should play a double pivot, tighten up that area in front of the defense. And of course, McTominay then kind of, he's not an ideal number 10, obviously, but then he ends up, being that guy who kind of makes the attacking run in support of the striker. Despite his poor run in front of goal, I think we need to persist with Højlund. We knew that this is not going to be a quick fix. He starts definitely. I mean, there's no other option, is there? I could start a game better than Martial, I think. So definitely Højlund starts up front. You have, I think, Garnacho and Anthony. Again, just by virtue of pressing, Anthony deserves his spot. Like for me in the starting 11. I know I completely resonate with you guys that how shit he's been on the ball, and Swag, you were mentioning about, I think, 1 goal and 0 assists in the last 25 appearances, but I think we are out of options there, so Anthony has to start. So, and at the back, of course, I would love Varane to again come back and lead the back line there, and the rest of it, I don't think we have too many options. Probably we just have three fit players who can come in the back line. It's probably Van Bissaka, Dalot, and Evans, for God's sake. But
Radha's dream has come true. Evans is starting for Manchester United at Anfield.
definitely, after that 7-0, I don't imagine how United fans will be feeling in the lead up to that game. But I, I don't think after all that we have seen, probably in the last 1 week itself, that will prepare us for whatever is to come, I guess. But one more thing that I think will make it very tough for United is Alexander Arnold. We have really struggled with positional dynamism. People changing positions seamlessly is something that has been troubling United a lot, especially in the wide position. So a fullback tucking in, playing from midfield is something that I feel is going to create problems because the winger might try going after him, and then Salah will get company on, definitely Salah. And Liverpool Klopp teams always, they will always try to overlap on the wings with the midfielder joining in. So when you have a wing back or a fullback exposed, I think that's going to be one big thing that Liverpool are going to look to exploit. Not that they need to depend on such tactical things to, I think, to get the better of United, but still.
Yeah, I think RK covered it quite well. But one thing that I would want to add is that one thing we can't afford to do in this game is our wingers not tracking back the way they did against Newcastle, right? I know it was Rashford mostly at fault, but it was also Garnacho in that game who did not track back enough. So we know that Garnacho is going to start in this game. We can't have him not track back the likes of Diaz or Salah or like whoever is playing on the wings for them. So that is one thing that we will need to look at. If they don't do that, I can see another 7-0 easily. Like the 7-0 that we saw last season, we actually did not play that badly in the first half, but things happened, and then it was one goal after the other. I think if we don't, you know, track back, if our wingers don't track back, the likes of Salah, Diaz, even Trent, Nunes even would exploit us and punish us, surely. I think Onana needs to be at the top of his game. He would face a lot more shots than he's used to, um, especially with the likes of Evans starting in front of him. So, yeah, get ready for the game of your life, Onana, because you need to be saving a lot of shots.
Yeah, just the one thing that I'm hoping for badly is that Ten Hag doesn't get fired after this. This has been like kind of like the last game is associated as the last game after Mourinho got sacked after
Yeah,
Anfield
this
trip.
is usually the
So
game where we suck our
Graveyard.
failure.
the graveyard of United managers. So I definitely hope that doesn't happen to Ten Hag, whatever the result is, because as I was telling to you guys in when we were discussing United at the start, I think while we haven't got it right at all, but when I look at the different parts of the game, there is something there, which can come together as well. So, there are games where we have been compact, there are games where we have attacked pretty well, where we show good patterns, but all of these things don't happen together at all. So, I know it's completely looking disorganized, it's looking like a mess, players looking out of morale, reports of dressing room unrest, etc. But behind that, in every game or in some of the games, at least you see a lot of signs of life, which is not kind of gelling together. So I definitely want Ten Hag to be given more time. I believe that to a large extent the squad is still trying working for him. While they may not be having a good morale, they may be feeling demotivated, lack of belief, but they still want him to continue, is what I feel, and I hope that we definitely give him more time to continue in the job.
Yeah, I'm honestly, I don't think he's getting the sack, at least not before this transition between the Glazers and Sir Jim Ratcliffe takes place. I think whatever sporting decision has to happen will probably happen after that, in case one is going to happen. But we shall see. I think the panel today is united in thinking that Liverpool will walk away with the points on Sunday and not alone. And we shall see you after the game week, and we'll be happy to discuss what actually transpired. On that note, we shall say goodbye for now and see you soon. Bye bye.